Welcome to Tax Insights, presented by Hawkins Ash CPAs.
And good morning, listeners. Welcome back to Tax Insight here on the Lakeshore's good neighbor, WOMT. We're talking with Jeff from Hawkins Ash. Jeff, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Terry.
How are you?
Doing well.
Excellent. Jeff, today we're talking about businesses and more specifically keeping track of grants that you may have received.
We are, because, with all the changes in the tax law and more importantly, all the stimulus checks that came out within the last couple of years, it's important for businesses to keep track of those payments and, really let their accountants know, because some of that may or may not be taxable. So today I want to talk about the different stimulus grants and loans that businesses received. And I think I gave you a list, Terry. So why don't we just kind of start at the top?
All right. So the first one is PPP, the second round of this loan.
Right. The Paycheck Protection Program for round 2. And that was given out in early to mid 2021. Now, as with the first round, any amounts that were received and forgiven are not subject to federal tax and also not taxable for most states. So that's a win-win, non-taxable in many cases, both ways.
Absolutely. Second one is the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, also known as the EIDL loan.
Right. So the EIDL, that was given out in 2020 and 2021. And that one kind of had two components to it. So the first one was an advance or a grant that did not need to be repaid. Just like the PPP, this grant would not be taxable for federal, and it's not taxable for most states. Now, the second part, and probably the biggest part of this EIDL program, were loans that were given to businesses. And those are loans that have to be paid back. So since it's a loan, it would not be counted as income. But as you're paying back this loan, any interest payments that you make, they are deductible just like any other loan.
Okay, the next one is the ERC, known as the Employee Retention Credit.
And the employee retention credit is something that we're looking at right now for all of our employees. And that was available for businesses in 2020 and went all the way through September 30th of 2021. And we've talked about that on prior shows. Now, the refundable credit was based on a decrease in revenue, and that amount of the credit is actually taxable for federal. Now, for states, you're going to have to go ahead and look and see if that credit is actually taxable. Wisconsin does not tax it, but I know many other states do.
Sure. So the next list, or the next one on the list, is the Small Business Association, the SBA forgiveness payments.
Right. So if your company had an SBA loan, there was a time period when the SBA actually made the payments for you, which was really nice. Wish that could happen all the time. Any payments made by the SBA for you, that's not taxable income for federal tax purposes. Once again, check your state because it may or may not be subject to tax in your state.
What about the COVID sick pay credits?
Yeah, these were credits that were paid to employers when their employees were sick or other cases affected by COVID. Now, these credits were generally taxable for federal purposes, but the state treatment does vary. Now, Wisconsin does not tax these credits that you got for COVID sick pay. Minnesota and other states, they do.
Okay, last one. What about the state and local grants?
Most of these grants are taxable for federal purposes, and the state treatment really depends on the state. For example, there was a number of grants that were administered by Wisconsin that are not taxable for Wisconsin, but they are treated as taxable income for federal. For Minnesota, they also had a number of grants, and those grants were taxable for both federal and state.
Jeff, a lot of great information each and every week here in Tax Insight. How do listeners connect with the team at Hawkins Ash?
I would go right to our website, which is hawkinsash.cpa.
Jeff, thank you for your time. We'll talk to you next week here on WOMT.
This has been Tax Insights, presented by Hawkins Ash CPAs. Learn more online at hawkinsashcpas.com. Hawkins Ash CPAs, part of your business, part of your life.